Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cliniko Coffee, and thank you for joining. Looking through, sees we've got people from around the world. We've got people from the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, a whole bunch of varying times. It's about 8:05 in the morning here. I'm near Melbourne in Australia. So I'm going to start off with making a coffee, a core part, and especially at this time of the day, a much needed part of this session. And we've had quite a few questions sent through in advance of this session. So I want to go through and have a look at some of those, provide some answers to some of those questions that have come through. I won't be able to go through all of them. Like I said, we had quite a lot of questions come through in advance. So if you did put through a question and I'm unable to get to it through this session, one that you've submitted earlier, then please just reach out to our support team. Just use the chat on our website or within Cliniko, and they'll be able to help get an answer for you to the question you sent through. And other than that, if you're watching live and you have questions, please do post them in the comments here on YouTube, and I'll be watching across those and try to get through all of those in this session. We do have a very important first question from Jack O'Brien on what's brewing today. So hopefully very soon I will have this one done. See if I can get it to focus. It's a Bolivian coffee from Honor, and it's processed aerobic natural. It's a geisha from Bolivia, one that I've had just recently and I'm really enjoying. So I'm going to get started on brewing that. And like I said, post your questions in the comments here so that we can keep an eye and get some responses to you. And as they come through, I'll make coffee and I'll start to go through some of the existing questions as well. The coffee that I'll brew, I do a pour over coffee, so a filter coffee for myself. So I'll do that with this B60 here. I'm just measuring out the beans for the brew. So I do 24 grams of beans and I do 400 ml of water on this particular one. I see Jack's got a Colombian geisha on the B60. That sounds pretty good. And I do it on a pretty coarse grind. There's just going to be a grinder for a second. I'm not sure if it's going to be noisy for you. That should be the end of the noisy part to this. So I spotted one question that's coming through here already. That's from Chloe Benson, and Claire, I see, has liked this question, which is, are there plans to allow for 0.25, 0.5, 0.75 hours for billing? So this would be on our invoices in Cliniko where you're setting the quantity, presumably. You would want to set up a billable item that is an hour of billing, and then you'd want to be able to go into that quantity and set a decimal place there, which we don't allow for at the moment. So there is a workaround you can do currently, but there is also some progress moving towards a proper solution for this one as well. I'm just putting some water through here to rinse the paper, get rid of the paper flavor, and also heat up the V60 and the jug so it's warm for the coffee brew. So the workaround currently for this is you can actually set up, let me get rid of this water. You can set up a 15-minute, for example, if you're always looking to do a 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, you can set up a 15-minute billable item, and then you can do multiple quantities of that. So, 2 of them, 3 of them for those different amounts that you needed. But I do know that workaround, probably people are already doing it and not loving it, and that's why this question comes through. So we do have a developer currently working on, it's tangentially related, currently working on fixing or changing the way we do rounding of decimal places behind the scenes. And it's not the most exciting thing, I know. But one of the reasons we couldn't do the decimal places in the quantity was that our rounding functions couldn't handle it. So we did actually want to first go and tackle this decimals in quantity. and we realized that the rounding needed to be fixed first before we could do it. So we're doing that rounding now. It's currently underway, and it's a precursor to be able to do decimals on those invoices. So all going to plan. When this developer finishes with the rounding part of it, then they'll move on to doing those decimals on invoices. But we've got to get this first bit out first. It'll be a behind-the-scenes change that you won't notice, and that's in order to do the change that you do want afterwards. So we've got a question from Claire as well about adding resources or a room booking function. So this is one that we're quite aware of the need to do so, and to do a proper room functionality, I expect that will be in Cliniko's future. I know a lot of people need it, and it's something we want to have in there, but it also is a significant amount of development, and I don't think we're going to get to a proper room function too soon. Just want to be realistic with it. However, the resources is slightly different, and it is something that we've had a bit of a look into. It's still not on the top of the things that we'll be working on right away. So I would say it still has some time before we could get to it. But I do think we could achieve a resources function much easier than we could do rooms. We can have a place where you can set up the resources that you have in your clinic, and you could then just go and attribute those to appointments. And obviously you couldn't, use the same one twice at the same time. And I think that's a function we could add much easier than the rooms and could get to it sooner. And it could be, again, once that's done, that could be used as a workaround for rooms also, even though it's not the sort of first class development of that feature that rooms will want and still will come. So no current work on it, but I can see resources coming before rooms for that one. So Andy's asking about plans for adding attachments to emails sent from Cliniko. Probably, Andy, I just need to know a little bit more. Are you referring to like letter emails that you're sending out of Cliniko and you want to just choose any file to be able to attach to it? If that's the case, that's something that we have come across and we do want to do. But again, it's one that we're not working on currently and don't have in the next batch of features we're going to work on. So I don't think that one's coming too soon. Or if it's a different thing that I misunderstood and it's not attaching a file to a letter, then let me know and I can try to answer better. So Elaine's asking a question about our custom fields that release. So for people that don't know, we released a few days ago, I can't remember which day, but a few days ago, we released the ability to add your own custom fields to your patient records. So if you're storing information for your patients that weren't in the standard field set that we have in Cliniko, you can now choose your own specific fields and they will be in all of your patient records and you can fill them out. So an example in Australia I know is people wanted to store NDIS information. It's not good in my glass. NDIS information in the patient record. That could be something you want to put in there. It might be a vaccine status that you want to store in there. Whatever it could be that we don't have a set field for, you'll now be able to use these custom fields to be able to do so. And the question that Elaine has here is, can you rearrange them? Because at the moment, our custom fields appear at the bottom of the patient record, and can you rearrange them through it? The answer is not currently, and we don't have an immediate plan to do so. So it doesn't rule it out. Let's get rid of this coffee that's brewed. It doesn't rule it out, but it's not something we're looking to work on at the moment. But I did think I might actually show for people that haven't seen the custom patient fields. It's something that I can just demonstrate to you very quickly to show you how that would work. So I've got my Cliniko account here. And I can just go into the settings area. And over on the right side here, I know you can't see my mouse, but I'm going to click on custom client fields. It says for me here, it could say custom patient fields for you, depending on a setting, but over in that clients area. And in here, I haven't set up any in my account yet, which will be the same as your account if you haven't done anything with it yet. And you can just say create. And I might say here, maybe I want some detailed information about their occupation in here. So I could create a section occupation, and maybe I want job type. And I'll put another field here, date started. And we have a date field in here, and we also just a few days ago, in this sharing screen, I just want to give me those date options. But in a recent update we did a few days before this, we also added a date option for your treatment note forms and for your patient forms as well. But I need to keep this a single line text in mind. Anyway, I'll save this, and I've got two new custom fields I've added for patients. And then if I go into patients area, it's called clients for mine. And I'll edit a particular client record. And if I scroll down in here, hopefully, I think this is what happens when I try to use a new tool for demoing stuff. I wonder if there's any way for me to get down that page. It looks like not currently. You just have to trust me that down the bottom of this page is those new fields that you can fill in to enter, and that'll be on all of your patient pages. So if you haven't set it up yet, you can go to these custom patient fields here and add as many as you want in the sections you need, and you'll be able to do so, and that's live in all Cliniko accounts now at the moment. So having a coffee brewed, which is probably more of an exciting moment for me perhaps than yourselves, but I'm pretty keen on this one. And I'll get back and have a look at some of these other questions that are coming through. So a question has come in about having a spell check in treatment notes. That's from Kate there in the comments. So it's not something that I expect we're going to be putting into Cliniko, because there's a lot of options for spell checking that your browser already handles or your computer already handles. That putting it through Cliniko itself may not make sense. So I know that there's tools like Grammarly, I believe, is one of them. Which you can have on your computer, and that'll help you with grammatical errors as well as spelling errors, and also your browser. There should be an option already in your browser to do a spell check on things you type into your browser, and then that would apply to your treatment notes as well. So it's unlikely that we do it through Cliniko, but it should already exist either in your browser or be a tool you can use like Grammarly that you can have on your computer to help out with that kind of thing. So Claire's asking for a time frame on things we're working on, whether it will be this year or not. I wish I could give that time frame. Unfortunately, I can't because I really don't know. Both because the tasks that we work on take an unexpected amount of time to complete. And it's like I always find it a tricky thing, because I've been doing software development for a long time, more than 20 years. I've worked on Cliniko now for over 10 years. I have a good understanding of the technology part of it. I understand the features we're developing, and still I'm terrible at estimating how long a task is going to take to get done. And I think that part of it is that we really work on a task until it's done, rather have an arbitrary constraint, like saying we're only going to give this task 2 weeks and then just shipping whatever we get done in 2 weeks, whether it's kind of good enough or not. We really work on something until it feels right and is ready to release. And with that, it gives us a greater variance on the time that a task will take. But we've had tasks that I think will take us a week and could take us a month and a half, or tasks that I think will take us a long time and end up being much quicker. So with that, I really avoid trying to guess not only when a particular task is going to be released, but if we then add to it, well, this isn't something we're working on yet, and it's something that's coming in future, it's even harder for me to start to work out, okay, all the tasks leading up to it, how long are they going to take, and then this next one. So I can't give estimates on time frame. The best I can do with that is let you know if we're working on it now. If we're working on it now, it means it's in the current batch of things to go out and it's coming soon. If I know that it's in the next group, although things can change, it shouldn't be far off. But past that, it's really hard for me to guess, to know even if it's this year or not. Um, a question about integrating memberships for group classes. Definitely we want to, but this is one that's not in the high priority for us, and not because it's not needed, but we've just got so many things that we're planning to work on, and this one's I know not going to be in the near group, so I would expect that, the best I could say, I'd say no time frames, but I could say memberships will definitely not be this year, and that doesn't even necessarily mean next, but I know that it's a while away, at least. Diane Morris asking about reminder alerts for recalls for clients. This one I'm not 100% sure on. So there's a task that we're working on at the moment, which is notifications to your team. So not notifications to your patients or clients. And this is something we're working on now, but notifications to your team on certain events. So I know a heavily requested one is when a patient completes a form, getting a notification that that's occurred. So we're working on these notifications to your team. I don't know if the recalls were planning to be a part of that or not. I have a suspicion not in the first release, and that's something that could be added after. But I'll need to check into that one. I'm not too sure offhand. We've got from Claire the ability to merge contacts. So that would be similar to with the patients. If you have a duplicate of patients, you can merge them. We don't offer the same feature for contacts. I'm curious, Claire, with that one, if the reason we do it for patients is because there's so many linked records to a patient. So they're going to have appointments and treatment notes and files and all sorts of things. So it's really important. But with the contacts, they generally have much simpler information. Is there a reason if you have them in twice, you need to merge them? Is there something you're trying to keep from both contacts? I would be keen to just know a little more if you're able to do so. Linda's asking, can you upload resources to forms and then attach to email to a client? I need to know what you mean by resources there. Sorry, Linda. So I've got a question from Belinda, and I think this one came through in advance as well, about the letter function, adding signatures to it. So I believe, and I'm almost positive, that the developer that was working on the custom fields for the patient record is moving on to signatures on letters next. As people probably know, we did a bunch of work on the editor in Cliniko to bring in some additional formatting options. But that also paved the way for us to be able to start to add signatures on letters, which is one of our highest requested features, maybe the highest. So that paved the way for it, and then we just needed someone to become available to do so. And I believe now there's a developer about to pick that one up because they freed up from the other task. So I think that one, I don't know how long it'll take to complete, but I think that one is very close now, finally. And I know a lot of people have been wanting it. Claire also asking about a drop-down list to the custom fields. So we actually, in the development of the custom fields, one of the options we have is radio buttons, and that basically means you can choose one or the other option compared to checkboxes where you can choose multiple. And we started to play with the idea of should they be radio buttons or a select list, because a drop-down list or a select list makes sense when there's a lot of options, which is, I assume, is why you're asking, Claire. I think the answer for it will be that when you just choose radio buttons, for example, we might bring in something that says if there's more than 10 options, it automatically changes to a drop-down list instead of radio buttons, or whatever number makes sense. We'll look into it. And then you probably just say, look, this is a select list, and we will decide how to present it. And I hope that would handle what you're asking. Let me know if not. Marita asking about pay button when in invoices under actions. Again, I'll probably need to know a little bit more what you're looking for there, but we are working on integrating payments to the invoices through Stripe so that you can actually email out invoices and have a pay link in them to get people to pay. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking for, though, Marita. Let me know if not, please. I can see Claire's happy with the 10 plus radio button option. That is good. I'll check in on that. I know it's something that we were looking at already. Zafar is asking about the custom fields and if they can be created via the API. I know we had another request through the API. So the API is how developers connect to Cliniko and integrations are built on Cliniko. So we had someone else already request this as well. Definitely we will add them to the API. Usually when we release a new feature, we kind of let it sit for a few weeks at least and make sure we're happy with the structure of it behind the scenes before we put it into the API, because once it's in the API, we can't really change it. We don't want to break anything. So we'll just let it sit for a little bit longer, make sure it's working how we expect, and then we can add it to the API. A question from Claire Venter Smith. Are there plans to integrate with any accounting applications other than Xero? Not currently, but I would like to in future. At the moment, you can do like a weekly or a monthly export to CSV using our data exports, and you can import that into your accounting programs, whatever it might be. But I would also like to add additional options for integrations. Also, if you let me know which system you use in Claire can be helpful. I know that I think it's Quicken and MYOB have been popular requests, but let me know which particular one you use, and that's helpful as well. All right, before I do some more of these live ones, there is a few that came through before this session that I want to touch on as well. So we did have signatures on letters, of course, was brought up, so that one I've touched on. Someone asking about, are we going to connect to Medicare directly? So that's in Australia, an Australian billing system, because they say Medipass is complicated. This is from Lena in Brisbane. We don't have plans to connect to Medicare directly, but if there's trickiness or complication with the Medipass integration, that's something to definitely reach out to us about. It should be your simplest and best workflow. That's why we connected to them and have done the development we did. But if you're having trouble with that or finding a problem, maybe let us know through our support so we can assist with that. We've got a question. A few people actually asked this about having the waitlist integrated into the online bookings. So if someone's booking online and they can't find the time they want, can they somehow get onto the waitlist? We do have plans to do this. It's not something that's being currently worked on, but I can definitely see, an option to book an appointment online and then also add yourself to the waitlist in case something sooner gets up. We've got a task plan for it, but no one working on that one currently at the moment. We have a question from Sue in Dublin if we're launching an app. I don't have current plans for an app. We have made sure that Cliniko works on nearly every device possible, particularly phones, tablets, things like this, really well, and that's the entirety of Cliniko. One of the challenges we have with an app is so often you get an app, but it has limited functionality because it's a lot of work to maintain two full systems, build out the mobile version specifically in an app and the web-based. Whereas the approach we took, which is responsive design, means that you get every part of Cliniko on those devices. So you can add users, you can view your reports, anything you can do in Cliniko, you can do on your phone. And it's very unlikely to achieve that in an app version. So we've gone with the approach we have so far. We don't have plans to change it. And I think that if Cliniko, as it is now, is not working well on a mobile device or something, definitely give us feedback so we can improve it. Because there's not really any reason a web app like ours can't be really good on mobile, even if it's not a native installed app. We have a question about doing fortnightly bookings. So someone's written in, Denise from Perth, and said they do fortnightly bookings, which we don't offer and handle. So I'm going to brave a demo again, even though I'm not confident in this browser that I'm doing these demos with. But I'll see if it'll let me down or not now. So if you're on the appointments calendar and you create a new appointment, and I'll just put in client in there. So when you go to repeat here, the drop downs don't appear on this browser, that's right. But when you go to the repeat here, there is an option to repeat like every week, every month or something, but you can say every 2 weeks. So you can choose every 2 weeks and then say for 10 weeks or whatever it might be, and that's going to give you the fortnightly option. So you can do it with that repeat. You just do every 2 weeks for a period of time. But I think I might give up on those demos soon, so that browser is not doing me any favors. Had a question from Leonard in Cobargo, which is, can we integrate with PhysiTrack? So PhysiTrack is exercise prescription software. It's primarily a mobile app for patients to be able to get their exercises, complete them, and I think you can view the compliance of it. They also have some other features in there as well. There is an integration PhysiTrack to Cliniko already. If you go to the Cliniko website and go to the connected apps at the top, you'll see all of the different integrated systems that do work with Cliniko. And PhysiTrack's got a pretty deep integration with us, as well as they even have an option to use what we call a custom patient button. But basically, on the patient page, you can have a button set up that even opens that patient up directly in PhysiTrack right away. So there's a pretty good integration with them, and you can check out our connected apps page if you wanted to see that. Had another question to notify a practitioner of a cancelled appointment. So there is an option for that. If you go to settings, users and practitioners, and go to one of the practitioners, there's an option in there to be notified of cancelled appointments. Or if it's just for yourself, you can click My Info in the bottom left of Cliniko, and you'll be able to get into the practitioner settings there and choose to be notified of cancelled appointments. I'm just going to get back to some of the questions that are coming through live. So Alice Brings Chiropractic saying there's talk about integrated options, Stripe to take prepayment for appointments over the phone or send invoice from Cliniko. So I did just touch on it, but yeah, we are working on that at the moment. So that's particularly we're working on sending the invoice with payment information through Cliniko. We already have that built into online bookings, so you can already take a payment at the time of online bookings using a Stripe account, and we're building that into sending invoices via email. And then as for taking a payment over the phone, I'm not sure yet. I don't think Stripe is going to allow us to do so. There's quite a lot of legalities and rules around collecting credit card payments. I don't think Stripe would enable it, but there's perhaps through MediPass is an option we could do it. It's something we're looking at, but that particular part, I think we won't have a solution just yet. We've got Jason Mads in Cliniko Payments. Can you add a feature to say PDF remittances to payments? Maybe Jason, for that one, is something I know little about. If you could send some information through to our support on that particular one, maybe we can have a look at it. I'm not sure what the remittances are or why you're saving it to payments. So some more info would be good for that. I've got a question from Leandri Ferreira. Hi, is there a way to sync my calendar to Outlook? I only manage to export the current appointments, but they do not update as they change or get added to. So if you use, we do have the option in your user settings again to subscribe to your Cliniko calendar in an external calendar. It won't bring things back from the external calendar into Cliniko, but the external calendar should update and reflect Cliniko all the time, with the only caveat that it's not instant. So this is not something we're in control of. We basically provide a subscribe link to these calendars with all the information they need to display your Cliniko calendar, but typically they poll it at regular intervals and some of them at not so regular intervals. So I think some of them might do it, every 30 minutes, every hour, and others might do it every 6 to 12 hours. So it depends on the system you've subscribed to your Cliniko calendar, whether or not, the speed of it, but they always should update. And if it's not updating at all, then check in with us via support and we can see that things are done right from our side at least. I had a reminder, which is a good one, someone in our team. I mentioned Grammarly earlier, and you need to be careful with any spell check program like Grammarly, that some of them do send information back to their servers with what you're typing in on your computer. So you would need to check if you're going to look at Grammarly, which I recommended earlier, and hopefully if you took that recommendation, you're still watching. Check their privacy policy, check their settings, and make sure that it's not going to send any sensitive patient information back to them through the process. Or if you're going to use a different spell check, the same thing, just make sure that the privacy policy is appropriate for it. Thank you for that reminder. Let's have a look from Bridget, Lyndon, on my wish list is to be able to see which patients a professional referrer or another patient has referred. So I'm not sure I understand entirely, but if this is basically wanting to see who your top referrers are, yes, that's something we would like to do. It would be good to have some easy information accessible about it, and maybe even ways you can reach out to them or something when referrals come in. We don't have good functionality on that. I don't think that's going to come too soon, but it's something we would like to have. Um, Kinematics Performance is asking, can you create a report for the new custom fields similar to pulling referral reports? I would need to know a bit more for that one as well, if you can. What exactly would you want to report on? What kind of things are you storing in custom fields, and how would you want to see it reported on? If I had that info, I would be able to give a better answer, I think. Elaine's confirming in letters we'll be able to add signatures soon. So I expect so. So I think that the developer that finished working on the custom patient fields is moving on to that next. I haven't checked in if that's happened already yet or not. But I expect that that's the case and that it's coming soon. And like I said, I think it might be our most requested feature. So absolutely, we don't want to put it off any longer. Got a comment from Andy just saying appreciates the quality over speed of delivering new features. Thank you, Andy. Um, we would like to be getting out a lot more than we do, but it does take time, and over time, Cliniko also gets more complex. So building features into it, takes some extra as well. But I think that people have been watching our updates this year. We've been at a pretty good rate so far. I think we made some changes to our development processes early on this year, and I think the results have been good, and we're really getting through stuff. Another one on signatures for letters, so I think we covered that one enough. Claire's asking about the expiry date format on cases. I know what this is. When you're setting the expiry date for cases, it can take a long time to go month by month by month to get back a year or to get forward a year if you're setting a year expiry on the case. So there's two things that I think can be solutions for that. One is the date picker that we introduced for custom patient fields, patient forms, and treatment note templates. That date picker has a separate year selector on it that we didn't have on our previous date pickers. So you choose the month and day like normal, but then you can just pick the year without having to navigate forward and back. So we brought that in for those three features, but that'll get rolled out through Cliniko in more places. And cases is a good candidate for it. And in fact, if someone from our team is watching can just ping me on that one, I reckon that could be a very quick change and no reason not to do it. And the other thing I would like to see for cases is perhaps having either default expiry time, so you could default it to a year from now, something like this, or maybe some just quick buttons like we have on the calendar, like jump forward 2, 4, 6 weeks. Maybe a quick button for set expiry in a week, a month, a year, or whatever makes sense as sensible defaults. So I think we can do the date picker nearly right away, and then maybe there's a better change as well to make it fast. So I've got a question from DLC. It would be great to be able to click on a file and email it to someone instead of having to save each one and then email. So that's actually something we weren't looking at yet, and maybe someone from our team can ping me on that one as well. I will get it added. We are doing some design work on the files area in Cliniko, so in the patient record. We've been looking at adding, I know folders is a very heavily requested thing to have in that files area, and I think there's some more we can do in there with previews and things to make that space a lot better. But we weren't looking at putting an email option through there, and I think we should have been. So I'll make a note of that and add it to the design work we're doing for that area. So a question from Jessica: when text messages are sent through Cliniko, they're added to the communications area. Can you also do emails through Cliniko and add them to the client communications? Long term, I would like to say yes to that, Jessica, but I don't think it will happen short term. There's quite a bit of complexity with sending emails. And we also actually, unfortunately, deal with quite a lot of spam attempts happening through Cliniko as well, where people try to use Cliniko for sending emails, text messages, things like that. Um, going through it, and so we have to be very careful with some of those features as well. I got distracted. It's a shame my camera's this way. I saw a wallaby go past the window. So I would like to see you be able to do those emails in Cliniko because it's a secure place to keep them. And I know that when we send emails, we do send it with the TLS encryption turned on, and that's important to give it its best chance of being encrypted through transit. And I say that because if an email is sent from encryption and received with encryption, it'll be encrypted all the way through. But the way email is set up, if the receiver doesn't have the encryption on, it will fall back to unencrypted, so it's not guaranteed. So it is better through Cliniko, but I don't think it's going to happen too soon, unfortunately. Amanda's asking about getting stock on hand without exporting products. The expenses and products part of it I actually haven't looked at for a little while. I'm not fresh on what we have in Cliniko there right now. It might be one, Amanda, I just need you to send through to our support team so we can have a look at it, see what we're currently doing, and then if there's a good option. And mostly I'd probably be interested to know, are you looking for, I assume, stock on hand for all your products at once? If you're going to send this through to us to support, what are you going to do with that? What will be better in Cliniko than having it in an export that you do at the moment? If you can just provide some information around what you want to do and how you're going to use it, then we can have a look at it. Eva's asking about custom fields like the NDIS ones. Once created, can be assumed it's integrated to all customer files. So you create it once in the settings area, and then every patient will have that automatically in there ready to go. So you just set it up once in your settings, and then every time you edit any patient, it'll already be there ready to be filled out. I've got a question from Aaron. Is there any way that forms can be completed by anyone that has received the link? Completed forms will go into sort of inbox, and you can sort which patient profile it goes to afterwards. I'm not sure I understand that, Aaron. With the forms at the moment, anyone with the link, my understanding is they can complete the form. Go into an inbox, which patient? I don't understand that one. I'm sorry, Aaron. Maybe if you can have another go, give me a bit more detail on that, and I will have a shot at it, but I'm not sure at the moment. Steve Hughes is asking, how do you decide between implementing a requested feature if that feature would add complexity to the interface? That's a tricky one. It's always a challenge. So we get a lot of features requested, like you mentioned, and one of the key points of difference, I think, for Cliniko and something that's compelling about it is that it's easy to use and the interface and the workflows work well. So every time we add a new feature, it does add some complexity to the interface. And I think that's the hard part of software development, and that's the part that we need to spend time on to get right because even by now, Cliniko has been going for 11 years, and it's not as simple as it was because we've added a lot to it. But I think we've managed to maintain the user friendliness of it. But it just takes work on every single feature to make sure we're integrating it right. And I think there's also times where we have to effectively do a refactor, where we have to go back and look at some features and change them with hindsight. Because we add a new feature, maybe we would have added it differently if we were adding it right at the start when we were building the system from scratch, but adding it onto at the end now is a little different. So it's just always a challenge. New features generally add complexity, and we need to work hard on the usability to reduce it. We need to find ways that if it's a feature someone's not going to use, don't get it in their way. If it's a feature they are going to use, make it discoverable. And those challenges, it's stuff I enjoy. I think it's what makes software development, or a big part of it, what makes it hard. And getting a good product is hard because of these challenges. But that's good. And it's just I think it'll never stop being a challenge no matter what we add to the system. So I've got a response back from Claire on the contact merging. Maybe that's one as well. If someone on our team can just drop me a message or remind me on that one, and I'll have a look at the merging of the contacts as well, and see if we can do it and see a reason why not. Brian Mose is asking about our APIs. That again is like the programmatic interface for integrations to connect, and saying that we don't have payments, rightfully we don't, in there, and it's been on our list for a long time. Is there some architectural reasons that makes it challenging, and has there been changes to that situation? So mostly, Brian, the structure of our database tables for invoices, payments, payment allocations, all that area in Cliniko is not structured as well as it should be. So this is actually code that I wrote when I started Cliniko in the early part. And it's serviced us okay, and it's fine. You know, we managed to compensate for it in the Cliniko application and interface, but the structure of it's not quite right, and it gives us challenges. And we know we want to change it. So we're reluctant to release it to the API, knowing that it's going to change at some point, and then we would break the API integrations when we change it. So our plan is always, if something's going to change, don't put it in the API until that change has occurred. But for this one, like you mentioned, it's been a long time coming. We haven't made that change yet, and the API is lacking for it. So I think that, what we kind of came around to was maybe we can mock the API to look like Cliniko will eventually behind the scenes, and then we can release it in the API and update Cliniko later to match it. But we haven't got the work done yet to even know what Cliniko will look like when we make those changes. So we can't even mock the API yet for it. So that's the challenge we have. We haven't got progress on it yet. It keeps coming up, and I know it's desperately needed. So I hope we will in the near future. But so far, there's not progress on it, and that's what's holding us up on releasing it. Amanda Morecambe asking about automating recalls. So it's definitely something that's needed. Our recall system at the moment is light on. It's not comprehensive. It's not automated. It's a simple solution we put in just to give people the option to use it, but we didn't get to spend the time on it to get it right. So we will get back to it, and that would include automation, but it's not something that's in our coming tasks to come. I know that for sure. So 100% it needs it and we want it, but I don't think it's coming too soon. A question from Lindsay Cleveland. Can you share notes from one company with another if working with the same client? So not like just being able to enable a record in Cliniko to another account. Accounts are really sort of hard siloed where nothing goes from one account to another. The only way you would do that is you've got things like exporting a patient history that will have all their notes. There's even down the bottom of the patient page what we call a full, I think it's called a full patient export. And we brought that in for GDPR compliance, where if someone requests their data, you can get it all out. So we have options to export to PDFs, or that's a folder of HTML files that you could provide, but no way to connect someone to the record in your Cliniko account. Eva's asking about adding photos to patient records. It's something that's like always been on our to-dos, but never floated to the top to get it done above other things. So I'm not sure, Eva. I think it would be nice to have in there. It would look nice in the software, but I'm not sure when it will make it to our top of our priorities. But I agree it would be a nice thing to put there. Okay, I see like Linda's come back, attaching a resource to a form that's linked to an appointment. I think probably, Linda, the solution would be attachments to our communications more than attachments to the forms. So the way you would deliver a form to someone generally is going to be maybe your appointment confirmation email or something that it sends out with, and there's a link in that email to the form. So probably putting attachments to those communications makes sense and is something we could do, but I'm not sure I would see them attached to the forms themselves, more to the mechanism that is sending the form out to the person. Irina Gibson saying a must is the requirement to capture a minimum of 3 patient identifiers before being able to close a file. I'm not sure, Irina, what you mean about closing the file there or what that's for. That might be a good one as well to send through to our support if you could with some extra details. And that's something that we could have a look there and see what we can do to assist with it. And I see looks like it's Brendan from Finger Ink in the comments answering some questions about Finger Ink in there, which is great. That's one of our connected apps that you can find on the Cliniko website as well. So someone's come back and said QuickBooks is the accounting software that they would like to integrate with. Holly Noble's asking, is it possible to know what new features are currently being worked on? We don't publish a sort of roadmap or things we're working on, mostly because, again, they do change often and we don't want people picking Cliniko on an assumption that something's coming soon in case something happens to it and it doesn't. We always want people to choose Cliniko based on what it does today, because that we can be certain of that we're delivering on and not the things that are coming. So we don't publish that kind of thing. You can always ask on specific features or, find out or, go and even ask whatever it is you're interested in. You can find out maybe through our support if it's been worked on, or attend these sessions is maybe even your best, because I'll do my best to let you know for any specific questions you have here. Question from Roll13. I wonder if you've had that name for a while. Consent forms, what do people do with these? Can they be emailed to the patient before the appointment for them to fill digitally and then stored in Cliniko? So I don't know what other people are doing, and maybe in the comments, anyone that's doing consent forms could answer Roll13 and let them know how you're handling consent forms. But I would say in Cliniko, you can create a patient form in Cliniko, and it can be a consent form, or it can include consent and other things. And you can attach that or link to it in your appointment confirmation email. So set up an email that goes out automatically when an appointment's created, has details of the appointment, and can also include that form they should fill out before they come in. And that would be a good way to do it. Also, if people come into the clinic and they haven't filled it out, there's a few options in the forms area in Cliniko to get them to fill it out in your waiting room or wherever. And they can do that on their own device. So they can do that on their mobile phone while they wait in the waiting room. You can either text them another link to get them to fill it out. You can bring up a QR code on your screen that they can scan to do the form. So a lot of options if they haven't done it in the lead up as well. Bridget's asking a chance for a pop-up alert if an appointment becomes available that relates to someone on the wait list. We definitely want to do some more automation around the wait list. I'm not sure exactly how that would look at the moment. I've had it would be really nice when there was an available time for the waitlist, not just an alert to your pop-up, but even a way to automatically maybe message the first patient on the list, see if they want it. If they don't respond in a certain amount of time, go to the next one. I think we could do more with automation on that front, but it's not something we've designed or made any progress on. So I think it's not too soon, and I'm not sure if it'll be a pop-up alert or we would go a different way with it. Hobsonville Podiatry saying they love how they can access the whole of Cliniko on tablets and phones. I'm glad to hear that. It was, I think, a 2-year-long project to make that happen. Might have even been more. Kate Barber's asking for the possibility to generate automated Zoom invites for telehealth appointments. I doubt that we would do that one, Kate, for 2 reasons. One is we have the telehealth built into Cliniko already, and not that we're trying to push our own telehealth product. We don't charge for it, and it actually costs us money to run. So we don't have, there's no financial incentive causing us to get people to do, but we already do have that built in as like a first-class feature. And the other part was Zoom did historically have quite a lot of security and privacy issues. Particularly, around 2020 when it started to become popular. I do believe they've made a lot of improvements on that front, but I would still be skeptical and need to be very confident to connect and encourage things through there. So I think it's probably not something that happens anytime soon. Claire's asking about a notification or report that can be run when a communication fails, or the ability to filter communications by failed. So I'm going to be bold here and try my browser demo again that has been so good to me thus far. Let's see if I can finally have a success with it. I can't even close this modal anymore. That's off to a good start. Let me see if I can do better on that. Nope. All right. I said last time I was going to give up on these demos, and hopefully it's really the time I give up on them now because I found what's going wrong. Hang on, I'm back. I'm not giving up on them. I'm back. We're in. Look at that. I've got it working. I think. Give me a second. I closed the thing. It's a start. So the question is finding out, sorry, I got distracted there, about failed communications. If you go to your communications area in Cliniko, like here, and you go in the top section here and you type in failed, you will see all of your failed communications. It is a secret feature hidden in there that not many people know about, but now they do. So if you want to find your failed communications, that is your way to do it. And even more exciting than being able to find your failed communications in there is that my browser demo worked for something. So I think that's worthy of celebration. Oh no, now I can't get back to me. There we go. All right. I can see there that Martina in our team didn't know that trick. I knew it was well hidden. I think that one, maybe no one knew but me, and now the secret is out. So will hyperlinks be supported in treatment notes from Zafar? Absolutely, they will. I saw a discussion going on in our company chat yesterday where one of our developers was asking, got an animal up there, was asking our designer for some designs for doing the hyperlinks in treatment notes. So I know unless something goes wrong, I know that one's coming because I saw them working on that already. I'm cognizant of the time. We usually try to keep these to an hour, which has just a few minutes to go. I might not get to all of the questions that we have through here. I'll still keep going for a little bit, but if I don't get to all of the questions and I don't get to your question, then please do send through that again via our support channel. We have lots of people there that can help answer these things as well, not just me. So if I don't get to yours, please do send it through. We still want to answer you. I just might not get it done in this session. So question about when you mouse over appointment notes, could it display what the note is rather than just saying there are notes? Possibly, Annie. I'll have to have a think about it, and maybe this comes back to, I can't remember the person that raised it, the question about complexity in the interface. One of the challenges we have with mouse over is that it doesn't work on touch devices like iPads, tablets, phones, things like that. So we try to bring in functionality and features that can work on all devices. And a mouse over doesn't. So if we brought that in, maybe we can still bring it in, and maybe we bring it just in for desktop computers where you have a mouse, or maybe we need to look for a different way to achieve that same thing so that it's available to people on mobile as well and tablets. Because as I mentioned before, it is important to us that you can do everything you do on Cliniko on those devices, and then it's a challenge to also not hold up the desktop to meet that need. So it's something we'll have a look at, but I'm not sure offhand if we would go that path or not. Can we split the date and time columns in data exports? This would make it easier when using formulas or pivot tables. Is it the date or the time that you want, Claire, particularly separate, or is it both? I'll have to have a think about it. One of the challenges we have with dates and times is that the time zone is related to them and they're affected by it. So I would need to put some thought in to see if that impacts this or not. Like, is the date in its own right a meaningful thing? And maybe if it's all in the same time zone, that's okay. I'll just need to ponder it. But if you let me know whether it's the date or time, particularly you're after, that would be good. Um, Plans to show quickly when a specific clinician has a next free appointment. Andy, so it was Andy Lee. It's something we have looked at. I think at some point we'll have a button on the calendar that is the next available or something like that. But we don't have immediate plans to do so. I probably will need to start skimming these last ones fast so that we can finish up shortly. A reminder again, if I don't get to it, do send it through to our support. And I'll just see if there's any other here that I have particular valuable insight to add that I think is a good one to grab now. So a question from MVM on recording video and telemedicine consultations. So right now we're unable to do it because we do true peer-to-peer encrypted telehealth and video consults, and that means it never touches our servers and we don't have any option to record them. You could record them yourselves manually using like a screen recorder on your computer. So I know on Mac it's QuickTime. I'm not sure what the built-in, if there is, for Windows. So you could record it yourself using a screen recorder, upload that to Cliniko or something. I think long term, we would like to build it in, but it's going to require us to do telehealth in a different way where we offer sort of like hosted rooms instead of this like peer-to-peer encrypted. It'll still be secure, it'll still be encrypted and all of that, but it would be something that we host on our servers that lets us record the video. It also lets us have more than 4 participants, which is a limit at the moment with the peer-to-peer. But it's a really big change and I expect would be quite a way off. I can see from Kinematics Performance for the reporting on custom fields, they want to track internal referrals and check which practitioners are referring to their colleagues. So I think that would be achievable. I just have to think how we would set up reporting on those custom fields. A question from Amanda Morecambe. This one I haven't covered in this session, but just to do with security roles. Just to cover on that quickly, we do have design work done for giving you the ability to do custom security roles. We haven't started working on the task. It is a very big task for us to do, and we need to make sure we have a number of people ready to jump on it. But configurable security roles will absolutely come. Got a reminder to sip my coffee. It's a good one. I can see it's getting cold. Still good though. It does end up being a little bit Cliniko and not much coffee. So I'll drink it afterwards. So another one from Irina on the nuance permissions. So to mention that will come for sure. Amanda's followed up on the batch reporting for the stock on hand. I still think, Amanda, if you could send through to support what that would look like for you and what's not good about the data export, that would be great. And then we can look at a solution for it. Claire's asking for an increase in the number of characters allowed in a fax number field to allow e-fax addresses to be entered. If someone in our team could ping me on that one, that should be a simple change, which there's no reason we can't do. So we could definitely increase that contact fax number field. Adrian Carvel's asking about practitioner availability and having a start and end date for the changes. It's something that we need to change our behind-the-scenes structure to be able to accommodate. It'll be a way off before we can do so. There's some workarounds at the moment by putting in either available times or unavailable times for certain periods. And if you're not sure on that, reach out to our support and they can give you more details. So there's a workaround for now, and later we would like to solve that one properly. Just confirming for Des Mayer that patients can sign the client consent form online if you send it with the initial appointment. And I'll get to one final question, which is when will the next Cliniko and Coffee be approximately, from Harry Booth here. So I'm not sure actually what regularity we do it. I think we did the last one in February. I'm hopeful that the next one might be around in November, because we're actually organising a meetup with our team in November. So for those that don't know, we're a completely remote team. We have people working on Cliniko all around the world, wherever we can find the best people. And normally we have meetups up to 2 times a year to get together in person. And with COVID in the last few years, we haven't had one in about 2.5 years, and we're way overdue. And all things going well, we have one planned for November. So I am hopeful that we can do Cliniko and Coffee in November, when we have at least the majority of our team together, and you can see some more people on here, not just me. So that's my hope, but I'll see how it works with our time frame, or whether there's one before. I'm not sure. Now, I can see Martina's just dropped a little form in the comments, which is feedback. I really appreciate it if anyone is able to do that. We want to improve on these sessions and make sure you're getting out of it what you've come for. So if you don't mind, and you can click on that form Martina linked and fill out the feedback, it is greatly appreciated. We don't need any of the likes and subscribes that you might get on YouTube, but if you can do that form, it would be much appreciated. That said, of course, you could subscribe if you want to see our video content, but mostly feedback would be great. And Martina's offering up a Cliniko and instant coffee, which is very unlikely to ever go ahead. Thanks everyone for joining. It's really good of you all to turn up for the live session. I appreciate it. I hope I've answered some questions that you had. If I've missed them, send them through to support, and we'll notify everyone via email that's attended this when the next one's coming up, so you won't miss it as well. So thank you all. Hope you have a good day, evening, whatever your time is. Bye.